bottles like that around, so more handle.
Everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Westergaard.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Wolfman. Yep. Beckman.
Yes.
And Steinkamp.
Yes.
Okay, public forum. Right.
Good evening, my name is Brett Muggenberg, here on behalf of the Hometown Pride Committee. Not here to make any requests tonight, just here to provide an update on the community center project. First of all, with this council recent approval of the engineering contract for the project site, we expect Beck Engineering to finalize the plans for rough grading, a stormwater pollution prevention plan, and low impact development. In the coming months, that firm will solicit bids from contractors to undertake that work, which, among other things, will benefit water quality in the lake. Another item I want to address is that there's been chatter that the project has been drastically altered to meet grant requirements. In order to keep our estimates close to the original budget, we did make a change of the building size from a 100 by 140 foot structure to a 100 by 120 foot structure. That smaller structure is actually consistent with our original proposal. Just to demonstrate my point, this brochure is our original brochure that we made when we originally proposed the project. And if you have this, or you can look at this, the floor plan in there is a 100 by 120 foot structure.
With no overhangs. The new one has no overhangs.
Know what?
That brochure that you're showing us has the roof overhangs in the garage, the new 100 by 120 building.
It's still, we are still looking at doing the overhangs.
But it's not in the quote.
But it's still,
But it's not in the quote.
it's detailed.
Let's just be fair and honest. It's not in the quote that you use for the grants.
And neither is the overhead door in the back too.
Correct.
Which is meant to for
So it
caterers
has
and stuff like that. It's a minor change.
Just to be
Not
clear.
Not arguing that there's
Right.
changes, but there's, you know,
Well, you were here to make it clear, so I'm making it clear
okay.
as a council member.
Okay. And then the other, let's see. Finally, we have 2 grant applications that are pending. I'm pleased to report that our committee has been selected among a group of finalists to make an in-person presentation to one of the board of directors of these grants. That will be done next week, and we appreciate any positive vibes you send our way. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it. Consent agenda. Any additions or corrections?
No.
Motion to approve. Second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Okay, Wolfman.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Steinkamp.
Yes.
Okay, we need to approve a fence permit for Mike Frank. Who? Highway Lake.
Does it meet setback rules?
It's
Yes.
just replacing, isn't it? You're just replacing.
It's extending it, but replacing what was there also.
But Eric signed off. on it.
Eric has signed.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Roll call.
Dave had it. Tammy was the second.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Wolfman.
Yes.
Moller.
Yes.
Frank.
Abstain?
Beckman.
Yes.
Steinkamp.
Yes.
Okay, administrator report.
Okay, couple things for you. Couple things, Rich, you're handed out to you at your table tonight. First thing is, we were given a resignation today from Tommy Gross, from his position as a Public Works employee. This does give his 2 weeks' notice with his final day as an employee being on 3/6. He's basically taking next week off, though, you're saying?
Yes, correct. He wrote out a slip.
So, you know, when we last hired public works employees, we hired two public works employees. We hired Matt Shuffler and then Ann Lester. And with the concept being that if Tommy was still around, we're fully staffed, that we could look at Lester as a shipped over into the Parks Department. We've had that discussion here about what would happen now, you know, and it would be Les's preference and Dean's preference too, that Les would just remain as a Public Works employee. So, I think we would look at recruiting and getting the hiring notice out there very, very shortly about hiring a parks worker then. Okay, I do want to clarify, I guess, with the council about the type of employee that we would be hiring. Are we looking at hiring another full-time person? So we would now be hiring a full-time parks employee. Parks, that basically would work the same, just as well Les would had proposed. We were going to use him for it. That it would be parks for about 8 months of the year, Public Works for about 4 months of the year. And if we were to hire a full-time employee, we'd look at doing that same thing again. Which I guess I would intend that we would follow through that way, and I would just get a recruitment package ready to go, get the advertising out there, and see how quickly we can get somebody hired. Okay. Okay, now that funny looking map.
Fine looking.
It means something, it just needs a little explanation. We did get a project together and put out bids to overhead contractors to get some pricing on doing this. But you want to talk through that a little bit, Jeff, about what we're looking at?
The biggest part that we're doing is out there by the Hankey addition. Getting that third phase put in. So, as I was talking with Scott and Dean, I kind of wanted to sweeten the pot a little bit to get the contractor in here. So, we've got a couple taps. One is the Lichty tap that never got rebuilt in 2012 when we did all the other line. And same with Jamie Pudens' line, has never been totally upgraded. I'd like to finish them two. And then out at Vondrox, there's one pole that needs replaced. And same by Dennis and Sue Franks. They got a corner pole that needs replaced. I kicked around upsizing the conductor and neutral at Vondrox and Denny's, but I don't think we need to do that at this point. I mean, that's something we can do in another project down the road. But all the poles have been upgraded on those two taps, except for those two poles that I've pointed out. I guess the biggest thing is see what you know, kind of bids we get back. And if we need to cut out them couple poles and we gotta do them ourselves as we need to, we can do that also. But the 3 spots I definitely would like to see done for an overhead project. I'm not really planning on any kind of underground project other than what arise that has to happen.
So we did, oh, we got the name of, right, it's just 3 or 4 overhead contractors from our engineers, and we got them bid packets that with the bids due then on the 16th of March. So we'll have some numbers shortly thereafter for consideration.
And a couple of those contractors we've used before.
Just a couple other things here. I'd put that in the council memo about the house at 128 Vine Street that the property owner has paid up their delinquent utilities, put the utilities back in their name, and she would intend to finish the remodel of that project and move in. The other one of note then is Pam Light's house that we've talked about before. Dave Jennett has done some checking on that. The property that taxes have been sold to delinquent tax sale. And one of the next steps for the city would be to follow up on that and see what we can do about the delinquent taxes, which are about $640 through that tax sale right now. So.
It has been sold, you said?
The delinquent taxes have been paid. Okay, but that's just it. The property itself is not sold.
It hasn't gone to the delinquent tax sale.
It has not, and in fact, to acquire the property, the timeline on that, according to the city attorney, was mid-24, when the taxes would actually allow that you'd acquire the property.
But now it's been paid, so now that 3-year period starts all over.
No, just that the delinquent, they have not been paid by the property owner, they've been sold on property tax sale. Okay,
They have that sale once a year in June.
yep,
Yeah.
and that was done.
Okay.
So anyway, that's just a little update. We will work on that information about that Pam Lights, and does the city hold a better position to acquire that than a private individual? As there is some special regulation. The county has an ordinance in that, in regards to that. Dave wrote the ordinance for them. And we just need to figure out the implementation of that. Dean's list? Go through Dean's list?
Alright, so, you know, we took down 7 trees, you know, here in the last few weeks. Moved a bunch of snow, and for my next 2 weeks, we're gonna be cleaning the trucks up and equipment, because we had a bad thing that happens underground happen today. So we need to do some cleanup on that, but, do some daily chores that we do. Sounds like we're gonna be moving some more snow. We're gonna keep cutting down trees. You know, it's about the same as it was for the last couple weeks. You know, clean shop, paint, clean water plant. Electric boys are gonna be helping us. They're still gonna trim some trees out in the country. They're helping us move snow. They will, with our help as well, install that sign that we got for out there at Moore's. I did go down there to pick it up, and you know, I joked at the last meeting that it was gonna be orange. Well, it wasn't orange, it was black, and it's supposed to be blue. So they were repainting it, and they'll let me know when it's done. So as soon as that's done, we'll get it put up in the air, so it's not sitting on the trailer.
The sign itself is done, so, and the sign contractor is looking to get that done here shortly, as soon as we're ready. I think my last thing here, is just to put this on your radar screen about Sac County League meeting, which will be on Thursday, March 9th, and Shaler hosted it, but it's going to be hosted here at the docket. So, that would be March 9th, again, if you put that on your calendars.
That would be it.
That would be it.
Okay, we'll open a public hearing on the budget, maximum property tax values. Is there any other public input? If none, right. Public hearing's closed. Resolution 2309.
I do want to talk through that though, let's
Figured
make sure
that.
that everybody is on board with that, with this notion about what has happened now with the state legislature. So, the last council meeting, we talked about this pending bill that basically reduced the residential rollback by 1.8%. Well, that pending bill has passed, and now it's law. So we do need to use lower residential numbers to compute our property taxes. Okay, now the process that happens though is that they have this new rollback number, goes to the county for the county assessor and treasurer to determine what the property tax, the taxable valuations would be. They'll get that information to us, and then we would know what the actual dollars would be for valuation. The county has 15 days to turn that around as soon as they get that information from the state. Fact is, I've got those the numbers, and we'll know what a really good estimate is. But when we published notice for our public hearing tonight, that includes the maximum dollars that would be collected for the general fund taxes. So when you flip to page 4, that's the notice that was in the paper, and it says that the total dollars that would be collected for the general fund, $647,847. Okay, now we can go ahead and proceed with that number based upon this notice. By looking at the bottom line there, the tax rate, where it says $6.45017, that changes a little bit. The tax rate goes up then, because the total valuation goes down by that 1.8% on the residential properties. Now, if you flip to page 6, that just shows you a little bit about what happens to the levies. And so down at the big section at the bottom, and at the middle section of the big section where it says that the general fund dollars increased by 2%, that's what we had proposed. So the general fund tax dollars are the $647,000. We do need to collect $84,115 in debt service dollars. So the total amount of property tax dollars that are collected, $731,962. Okay, that total levy then is $7.49, and follow that over to the right there. It's a 23-cent increase then from what we had initially thought that we were going to be when those using those original rollback numbers from the state. Dollars are the same, but the tax levy would go up a little bit. Make sense? And if the council is okay with that and ready to roll, we would have you approve that resolution that approves the maximum property tax dollars.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Waltman? Frank?
Yes.
Moller?
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Even though it says 2209 on page 5, it's still 23.
That'll be 23.
Okay, resolution 2310, approving the contract for Lake Shore Drive.
This is just the documents for the contract and the bond. And those documents are included in your packet. Everything's in order and ready for approval. And the timing for the contractor would be a fall project.
Hey, I've got a couple questions for that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I see that there's in there, how long ago was it that we had that first, part of that project? How long has that been since we finished that up?
5 years ago?
I'm going to tell you 5 or 6 years, Whitey. I do not know for sure.
Okay, I was just wondering that. I was looking at the contract, and this has a 4-year, acceptance for repair and make sure everything stays improved
Sure.
on it. So the reason I was asking that, if we had that the same year in our other contract, and I didn't know if that was could still fall in 4 years, because some of that should have been handled with the other bunch.
We did not have a bond when we did the south half, Whitey.
Okay, all right, that's what I needed to know. All right.
And it was only 100,000, wasn't it?
All right.
Double.
And it was a little more expensive this time.
Yeah,
That's true.
double.
But yeah, everything's in order if we can approve the contract and bonds.
Motion to approve,
So moved.
second,
Second.
roll call.
Bowler?
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Boltman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, the lease is up on the bins by the maintenance shed.
Yeah, so that lease document is on page 15. But you want to talk about that a little bit, Rich, in your lease arrangement there?
Gosh, we did this 3 years ago, and it's been working out for me. I try to cooperate with the city guys here and give them a heads up when I'm down there, and I'm really not down there very much, but yeah, I kind of work with these guys and always worked with Bill Lenners when he was around, and I'd sure like to renew it if that could be done.
For another 3 years?
Sure, or longer. I'd
Just, for the council, the city can lease land up to 3 years. When you're doing anything longer than 3 years, it can happen, but we would have to give public notice, and you gotta work through a public hearing.
Yeah, 3's fine.
I make a motion.
My question is about the weeds and stuff now. Are you taking care of them, or do we got it mowed and weed whacked?
Well, you probably shouldn't,
Yeah, 'cause we've been
probably
doing it the
didn't-
last,
I probably didn't live up to them expectations
Yeah.
like Jim Stock always did it, and
yeah,
he must enjoy mowing more than I do, but
yeah.
if you're thinking I could do a little better, I will do a little
I
better.
mean, that'll help us out a lot more.
Oh, I
you
don't
know.
expect you to do it. Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll step that up a little bit. Yeah.
Alright, your doors and stuff, you know, you can keep them by the bins.
Yeah.
I know they blew,
The wind.
the wind blew them out there.
I did
Yeah.
retrieve 2 of them, Rich, you got them inside.
I got
I don't
it.
know what else is in that snow pile though.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah,
If I see them sticking out, I've been trying to get them out for you.
yeah,
I'll second
I'll-
Bob's motion.
I'll do better, yeah.
We have a motion and a second to approve.
Yours, right?
Dale did that, yeah. Roll call.
I do wanna just clarify this again, that, so just that the price would remain the same, we're at $8 per bin per month, and
They're pretty small. Roll call.
okay, Beckman,
Yes.
Holtman,
Yep.
Muller,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes,
thank you.
Yes.
Dale found a sign.
Yeah, we do thank
Bet.
The Dean install.
I
It's not on my
didn't get
list.
you this information, Whitey, but the quote is the same as what was in the, packet. I gave everybody here my notes from a conversation with the sales person then today.
Is it the same size as the one we got, or is it bigger?
So it is actually substantially bigger. It is about 4 inches wider, so it has that arched top on it, okay? We would reuse the arched top, okay, but it's about 4 inches wider, so it doesn't just line up, that arched top doesn't just line up perfect, and there's a picture of it in there on page 17.
I got it.
But then, the other thing is that sign there is basically pretty close to 2x8 is the panel, or the sign panel size on that. Okay, and this would be 3x8, so it's half again taller. Okay, but, which actually I think is good. The salesperson had given quote on 2 types of signs. One is 9mm, one's 12mm, and that the millimeters is the distance between the LEDs. So the smaller the distance, the more vivid pictures. And the sign is full color, and it can do anything, including photos, videos, of course any text. You can put text over photos, and any of that stuff can handle that. So the size is 3x8, but the panels are 1x2. So if you ever have a problem with the panel, you can just replace one of the panels instead of the whole sign. Okay,
Sounds good.
the manufacturer needs to, they need to manufacture a frame that would mount the displays to on the inside and then connect to the cabinet. So she when I talked to her today, she needed to confirm whether there'd be any additional cost for that, which she did confirm, and there is no additional cost for that, for them to get this mounting bracket done. Okay, again, it's a few inches wider than the Lakeview arch top. Okay, how do you program this thing? So it has its own content management system. And there is no additional cost for the software, and then there's no additional annual fees for that software. Some of the other ones that we looked at have annual fees. So you can program the sign from anywhere that has an internet connection, and then there's a cellular device that's installed on the sign, and that's how it receives the signal. And they provide free cell service for 5 years, and then it's $264 thereafter per year. And you can create all the sign content with their software, or you can create it with different types of software and import it into them. And we can do everything, you can schedule everything there too, and you can schedule basic things like turning it on and off, or schedule the timing of the slide presentations and the length of the videos and those type of things. Everything's scheduled through the program. Sign has auto brightness. So the brightness changes based on the light conditions of the day, and then of course it's different during the day than it would be during the night. And Sunshine, they would remove the old sign and install the new one, Okay, and they say we can keep the old one, or they would dispose of it, their disposal fee is $500. 2-year parts and labor warranty. This is a sign, you know, we could install this thing, but I would tell you if they don't install it, the warranty becomes just 2 years on parts only. And a lead time here is about 6 to 8 weeks, so if we can proceed with this here quickly, we can have it by, before Memorial Day and should have it in. Thanks today all.
Thank you for your time.
Hey, well, I'm not buying it. Let's just be clear here.
But did you wanna have the opportunity to motion that we approve the purchase of this?
I do want to clarify this about 9mm versus 12mm.
And she said our existing one is not even 12 millimeter.
No, she thought it was probably the 16.
Yeah.
We'll just get the better one.
It's not a whole lot of difference in price on the
I would go with
I make a motion we proceed with the 9mm
For second?
and dispose of the old one ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we'll
Scrap.
yeah,
Scrap it.
keep it, whatever. Okay.
Jeff wants to play with it at work.
Light up the neighborhood.
Yard ornament.
Boy, I got some of those camps.
Jeff,
Yes, Dale,
Yeah.
that's second.
Okay, roll call.
Okay, so Frank,
Yes.
Beckman,
yes.
Oh, you get it.
Moller,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
I had enough to do with it
It's a
already.
good deal, the public has been asking where our sign is, so.
Well, and this
Don't
is,
tell 'em.
this is considerably less than the other bids and quotes we've been getting, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
The ones that
the
I
other
missed.
one started with a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was cheaper than the one that started with a 5.
Okay, the 2023 budget preparation.
Yeah, so,
Sounds painful.
we had this discussion at the last council meeting, and I guess, there has been no changes since we had reviewed this at the last council meeting. But I do want to just go through a couple things, beginning on page 18. So really, the only things that are in here are some high-level compilation documents. So, year one of the capital improvements plan, so everything that's listed here is included in the budget, including the things that are highlighted there would have been different from what we had reviewed about a month ago. But it does include a sidewalk program now. Also, within Parks yet, it does include a dock at the Town Bay boat ramp. And Jimmy called to ask about a status update on that. And that if we were looking to do anything for this spring, that we would need to move on that quickly. So I'm interested in your thoughts on that. Is this something that we would look at for this spring? Are we looking at it for following year? What's your thoughts?
It would sure be nice if we had the money to do it this spring, if we could swing it.
Sure, we can swing
Just
it.
because the one we have down there is in pretty
Sad shape.
bad shape. And then would that take it out of there then? If we did it now versus,
Very likely that we would pay for that during this current year. Yeah.
And sometimes even if it's in the budget, we never follow through because something came through or we didn't do it.
So,
but this is something that needs to be done. I mean, there've been a lot of complaints about that.
Oh, yeah.
is there delivery, did Jimmy say lead time?
No, just that he was saying if we wanted it for this spring, we needed to take action on this quickly.
So if we do that, and some odd reason it doesn't come in until July, we would just wait till next year to do it then? I mean, Jimmy would know the lead time.
Sure.
When we say, hey, we wanna do it, are we guaranteed to have it by May 15th or something?
Certainly he would try.
Well, I'm sure, but I know last year they were waiting on docks from Midwest for a year,
There
so,
were.
Everybody's.
yeah, that's why I'm asking that
But we
question.
just always put it in, we can always take it out when it gets here.
True. I'm definitely in favor of putting a new dock in there.
Are you okay with just proceeding with that then, that we would go ahead and proceed with that, and it's just based off of the one cost estimate?
Yeah.
I would be yes.
Okay. Will do. Looking at any of the other items that are included in the capital improvements plan,
Yes,
so yes.
I would like to get the council's opinion of removing a couple things in that year one stuff to set aside some money for staff, additional staff. However you wanna word it. Scott and I visited about it a while back. You know, Scott's watered down with everything, he needs some additional help. And I think it's a starting point by taking a couple things out of there and setting it aside, that money aside for staff. And I'm just looking at a couple different things, like replace the hydraulic vac in the set aside basket truck, that's $110,000. And not that eliminates that stuff, but at least we put that set aside for staff. And it's a starting point for us working towards changing some of the staff, because this budget doesn't take effect till July. That's my opinion, I want the opinion of the council.
But it's still there in case we want it for this.
If we don't do nothing with staff,
It's just putting it in one,
move it from one side to the other.
Moving it to the other side.
but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And there were just the two things that I just looked up and seen. It could be something else, I don't care. Not the city council chairs.
Alright. I didn't okay with that.
I just bring it up, we talked about it, you know, we've got to get a control and a handle on some stuff, and I think that's a starting point. If we don't use it, we don't use it. We can go back into using it for something else.
There you go. Right. So, it doesn't need a motion or anything to do.
No, I just wanna make sure that everybody would have an understanding about that, I guess what I hear Dale saying is that we would remove a couple of line items out of the capital improvement plan, take that capital money and put it into operations money.
Correct.
So, and the two things to remove from the plan would be the basket truck set aside and replacing the hydraulic vac. That's $110,000 that can be transferred over into the operations side.
As long as we keep those things on the list, I'm okay with it.
What kind of shape is that pack in?
What kind of shape is that pack in?
They used it today.
We used it today.
We use it almost every day.
Yeah, every day, especially during the summer, it's getting used. You know,
It's something that if you wanna look at it, you know, another year down the road, it's
Did it make it that far?
yes.
How many hours are on that? Do you remember? I don't have that sheet with me.
It's under 1,000, I think, yeah.
Okay.
But that mosquito are the two biggest things we got.
Working okay with them, right?
what's that?
Buddy?
It works okay, we're getting by with it, ain't something that's on top of our list that would need to happen right away.
It's not like the street sweeper, right?
We just fixed the back, wasn't it?
We just haven't gone through what, in October or November, we took it to Ditch Witch because we were having some issues. So,
Okay.
it's something that you just need to keep in the back of your mind that it's used a lot, and you run it in the ground, eventually you're not gonna have.
And it's expensive to have somebody come in and do that, as I recall,
Yeah,
and that's the reason why we
it's just,
bought it.
that's just one of those things that every department, but the police department uses. So,
We can use it.
you can use it if you wanna use it.
I mean, what?
We can move that money from somewhere else. There were just the two items I said.
Well, I'm okay with it.
Just keep in mind on the bucket truck, It's not really due until 2026, but it's a lead time thing, so.
I mean, it's still gonna stay there, but just in case
I'm just,
something comes up.
yeah.
All right,
Anything else that you come to mind on the capital side of things? Other than that, on page 20 is revenues versus expenditures for each one of the departments. And when we went through this last time, we kind of explained a little bit. So it shows that general fund expenses exceed revenues by $307,000. Well, $200,000 of that is Camp Crescent drainage, and 125 is water at not twice. There's projects. That's what accounts for why that is a excuse me, why that's a little in the hole.
Isn't Camp Crescent on here at 300?
It is. It's
Okay.
200 from general fund,
Oh.
100 from sales tax.
All right.
Did we ever come up with 50 M boxes? We're gonna put so many in or not?
We have not proceeded down a project on that, really, just to make sure that we've coordinated the project to be what we want it to be.
Just a question.
So it just, again, when you look at the lower right-hand corner of this and you think that the expenses exceed revenues by $794,000. And again, that's projects, and that is stuff that we have prepared for over time by saving those funds, and we would be we deficit spend this year, but largely we're prepared for that. With the one big exception there being the electric fund, where you see that's $174,000 in the to the bad, and basically that does not include very large capital projects. I guess to be to clarify, it includes like $2 million worth of capital projects, but it also includes $2 million worth of debt to offset that. So just update on that electric rate study then, that the consultant has emailed, said they're getting close to a first draft of that ready to go. So we'll have some inkling about what they would be looking at on rates here, and incorporating those rates then with a proposed large project and servicing some debt for that. So that stuff will roll around here pretty quick. But when you see that the electric department's $174,000 in the negative on that, it's being addressed, but it's being addressed through the study. The other thing to note then is on the next page about projected fund balances, that things have been, we made some minor tweaks along the way so that everything ends up with positive fund balance then at the end. At the end of fiscal year 24. So really what I'm hearing is we'll proceed with the town bailout situation. If we find out that we think it'll be here this spring and be paid out of this current year, we might take that out of the budget. And other than that, we're looking at the vac and the basket truck set aside and switching that money over to operations. Anything else on that? We are to the point then where we would consider the budget largely done, and we're to the point where we would set a public hearing date. Okay? The earliest we could do that is March 20th. Okay? My suggestion to you is that we'll put that off for a little bit, and we should do that on April 3rd.
because we did get an extension, correct?
Yeah. So the state has changed the due date for city budgets until April 30th for this year. And I'd just like to have a little time to know that we got the proper valuation numbers from the county, and we can get that all put together and still then have ample time to publish it. It has a longer publication requirement than normal, an extra week worth of publication. If we could set that for April 3rd, that would be great.
Do we have a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Wolfman. Frank,
Yes.
Moller,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Anybody have anything else they wanna bring up?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming.
All right, here we go.
7 minutes.
I'm sorry, I'm just about over. Go get some.